What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. If you're listening to the podcast, it's Friday, October 7th. If you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/Pick6. It is Thursday, October 6th, and this is a Picks/Best Bets show. We are no longer going to be starting at 1:15. We're going to move to 1 o'clock for the Best Bet show. It's on me. I'll take that L. Joining me.
Just like NC State did.
Come on. You texted me as soon as that game ended.
You didn't respond to it.
No, go Tar Heels. Boy, I hate my job. I hate my coworkers. I hate my job. Joining me to do Best Bets, Pete Prisco and RJ White. What's up, fellas? Pete, happy belated birthday to you.
50 is amazing.
Is that 85? Is that you said 85?
No, I've turned 50 for 12 straight years.
You are the most youthful 82-year-old I've ever met.
I'm not 82. My dad's 87. He's the most youthful 87-year-old you've ever met.
I believe that, actually.
Oh, yeah.
RJ, if you had to guess how old Pete was without knowing Pete, how old would you guess?
50.
See?
Smart. Pete's a powerful man in this company.
But here's the other one. How old do I act?
25? maybe 18.
Even lower, I think. Sometimes.
Well, depends on when it gets you, I guess. All right, let's dive in. Pete's time is important. He's only got a short.
RJ's got a meeting coming up.
RJ's got a meeting. Pete only has a certain amount of time left on this planet, so let's get to it.
That's true.
All right. We are going to start with
Our picks record.
That's right.
Pete 3-2, week 4. Won the week. I'm 3-3.
4-1 for me. Wow, that's really impressive.
4-1.
So North Carolina State, Will Brinson, all loser.
Yep. We lost. It was tough. I was down there.
It could be worse. It could be Arizona State football, so it could be a lot worse.
Yeah. What was it do? You fired your coach on the field?
Yeah, they should have fired him before the season is what they should have done.
Yeah. Well, the problem is the AD is his old agent.
It's his buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Ray Anderson.
But back to college football real quick. Look, you'll be going to a December bowl game as usual.
Yep. We can still go to a New Year's Six. We got RJ 15-10, Pete 13-10, me 8-13-1. Ew, nasty, gross. Giants and Packers. London, 9:30 a.m. First time Aaron Rodgers ever played football outside of America, I believe. Right? Or
that we know of.
Right. Legal. First time he ever played NFL football outside of America. The line is 8, Pete. Over under is 41. The implication is that the Packers will blow out the Giants. Do you think that happens on NFL Network at 9:30?
This is a hard game for me at that number. It really is. I think the Packers are the better team. Here's the problem. The Giants run the ball. Packers aren't great against the run. But I'm not taking the 8 either. I would take the Packers here or nothing. But my lean is to the Packers at -8. Depending, the quarterback situation in New York is a mess. It looks like Jones is going to play, but how healthy will he be? So I'll take the Packers minus the points.
Yeah, Pete made a good point about the rush offense where Giants excel, matching up well against the Green Bay defense. But the Giants offense already 32nd in pass yards per play. So even if it is Jones, it's going to be difficult to backdoor cover because they just can't, get those chunk plays with their offense and whoever's playing receiver for them. They lost Kenny Golladay to injury, it looks like. So now they're the exact same amount of shorthanded at receiver as they always are because he hasn't done anything. I'm surprised how poorly Rodgers played in the first half against New England, but he got it together eventually. This is going to be the best offense the Giants have faced by far. So unless Rodgers falls flat in the first half again, which I guess is possible playing at that weird time, Green Bay is going to run away with it. So I'm like Pete, I'm a little hesitant to play the -8, even though if Jones is ruled out, I definitely think 8 is the value playing the Packers. So I teased it down through the 7 and the 3 and made Green Bay -2 the first leg of my teaser.
I like that move. I actually had first time ever on the Pick Six podcast. I have a teaser on this pod. That's where 0-4-1 will get you. Oh,
You
4 and
told
1.
me I was desperate for putting one in last week, so this is desperation for
Right,
you.
I'm telling you that I'm desperate. Clemson,
Welcome to the teaser club, guys.
Yeah, I know. God, it's good to be here. I do think that's a good teaser leg. It's also nice to 9:30 a.m. Sunday, get your first you get the first leg of a teaser, like if you get it. And I think the Packers will win. The London games are so hard just because it's like no one on Green Bay has ever done this because the Packers have never traveled to London. So we presume that they'll be fine, but that's a lot of travel. It could do weird stuff to your body. I take the Packers against the spread for the site. I don't feel particularly great about it. By the way, Pete, you and I have the same overall record. Fun.
I've had 2 bad weeks.
Yeah, me too.
It's embarrassing, Pete.
It really is
humiliating. I'll take the Packers just because I don't think the Giants have a great opportunity to come back if they get down, and I think that Green Bay will be able to run the ball effectively down their throat, and so I will take the Packers against the spread, but not a best bet. Moving on to the next game, the Dolphins. Despite no Tua Tagovailoa, they ruled him out on Monday. How thoughtful and forward thinking by the Dolphins to rule him out on Monday. They're not
looking out for his health.
They really are. It's very impressive how
Tua needs to look out for his own health too. He does.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you can't ask players to.
Sure, you can.
Can you?
Sure.
So you what
I'm not
percentage?
blaming him. I'm just saying at some point a player has to be held accountable for himself. I can't go. My head hurts. I'm not playing.
My head hurts.
It goes against the grain. It goes against the grain of what's inside most players. So I get it, but if the team's not going to protect you, you have to protect yourself.
I don't disagree with that thought process, but the team's got to be better about it. I mean,
Then you're Antonio Brown retiring on the field.
Yeah,
running out of the stadium.
Pete, you would be Antonio Brown if you played professional football.
No, I would not.
It's a diva, lunatic.
No, I would not. I would not. I would not be a diva. I would not be a diva. You know what a diva is? Diva is the guy who shows up 15 minutes after he's supposed to show up. That's a diva.
I'm sorry. I had it set for 1:15. I thought we were going. I didn't see that you acknowledged the email. I'm sorry. It's on me. It's on me. I heard it.
All right, but in this game, look.
It's -3. The line it's actually -3.5 now on Caesars, but we're taking it 3. It was 5.5 when Tua was in, 3 or 3.5 now that Teddy Bridgewater's playing.
I'm taking the Jets. I think they win this game outright. Miami. Look, Teddy Bridgewater's okay.
That's $1,000 for charity. If, you know what Brady Quinn said, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, but I think the Jets will win this game. Miami has done little on defense. They don't rush. They're 28th in pass rush, which is terrible. I thought they'd be better than that. I think Teddy's serviceable. And I'm not a big believer in how good the Jets are either, even if they win this game. But I just think this is a bad spot for Miami. This is the first time they're going to face real adversity. They don't have their quarterback, back-to-back road games. I know they're rested because they played on Thursday, but I'm going to take the Jets at home. I think Zach Wilson showed me something in the last drive in the last quarter against Pittsburgh. So I'm going to take the Jets to win the game. So give me 3.5. I'll take it. Best bet.
On board with everything Pete said. I think you may be reading my notes somehow. I have lean Jets +3. Zach Wilson, uneven debut. Thought he would come in rusty. He did look rusty. It wasn't a great game for him. Did turn it on in the fourth quarter though and got the win. He could succeed here against this Miami defense that is pretty mediocre. I thought they were going to be better than this. Miami struggles to run the ball, and the Jets have a great run defense. So it is going to be all on Teddy, and he's a capable backup. But I think the ceiling of the pass offense is lowered with him at quarterback versus Tua. I think that the fact that this number is only 2.5 points off the look ahead tells you that people are perceiving there's not that big of a gap between Tua and Teddy. And I think that's kind of unfair to Tua and his talent, his decision-making, and how good he is at the things that maybe aren't physically there, but he's just a master decision maker. He's always going to put the ball in the right place. So I think that we're not giving him enough credit by putting this line at 3.5. If it was 3.5 for the podcast, I'd probably have the Jets in as a best bet. I think Elijah Vera Tucker did a great job at left tackle. I don't know if Pete has any thoughts on that, but they needed a left tackle. So when they put him at tackle, I was like, oh my God, he's about to get hurt and out for the year, because that's just what happens with Jets tackles. But he went in there, he held the zone. It's really good to have a guy with that kind of versatility you can move over. So I don't know if he's going to play in this game. I know Dwayne Brown was designated to return off injured reserve. Maybe he's able to get back eventually. But, I like having him there, and I think the Jets offense will be better moving forward. So 3.5, I make it a play at 3. Where we have it, it's just a lean for me.
I haven't watched the tape of that game yet, but watching the game itself, you're right. He did look like he did a really nice job. He's a tackle. That's what he was at USC.
Mhm.
Would that be wild if that's how they solved their left tackle problem? Like it stumbled into, I mean,
He's a pretty good guard. He's a pretty good guard too, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you could play Mekhi Becton at right tackle, and he'd probably be. I mean, like he wouldn't be terrible at the position. I don't think, just because he's so physical. He could get, or you probably play him at guard. Honestly, if Barry Tucker became your left tackle, is what I'm saying.
Well, it was supposed to be Becton at right tackle and Fant at left tackle, and then
Right.
Becton gets hurt, so they had to move Fant and sign Dwayne Brown to play left tackle. Then Dwayne Brown gets hurt, and then they got to move Fant back, and then Fant gets hurt.
You're talking about for the future.
Yeah, for the future. And then they put Mitchell at left tackle, and he gets hurt. So then, I mean, it's.
So
I'm just saying, like, if you actually stumbled into a future left tackle, a starting left tackle, not the worst. Who you drafted in the first round, traded up for, not the worst thing in the world.
Mhm.
I took the Dolphins against the spread, and I don't feel good about it. I think Pete's the only one. JLC hadn't put his picks in, but looking at the, anyway, he hadn't put his picks in. But Pete, you're the only one with the Jets against the spread. I kind of want to flip to the Jets.
Congrats on the dub, Pete.
RJ. He's copying our paper, RJ.
I'll stay with the Dolphins. Whatever. I don't like it. No best bet on this game for me. Moving along, Steelers at the. I mean, I think Teddy will be fine. I think Teddy's a good play at DFS. Teddy. I think Teddy targeted Tyreek. Say that 5 times fast. I believe like 6 or 7 times, like immediately upon coming in.
He also targeted Jesse Bates too, or no, not Jesse Bates.
Oh, God, so good.
It's funny because the issue with Teddy is like downfield. I don't trust him as much, but in this offense, like you don't need to be downfield. They're going to get guys open in the mid range and let them run after the catch anyway. So maybe it doesn't even matter. Teddy can just execute.
You got to admit, his last pass that Von Bell picked off, that kind of got just washed away because of all the Tua talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, did you see Teddy's hat? It's the largest hat I've ever seen in my life.
I love Teddy's one of the best guys in this league.
Yeah, he's the nicest guy.
As a human being, he's one of the best guys in this league. So,
and came back. I mean, I think Teddy's, for this offense and this team, Teddy's a very good backup. I don't know. We'll see. Jets are not a great football team. Steelers at the Bills. Bills minus 14. This is, as I'm sure you read, I read a 46.5. This is the first time in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers that they have been a 14-point underdog. They've never been a 14.
That can't be true.
You wouldn't think so.
No, because they were terrible early in their history. That can't be true.
That people weren't gambling in the 50s. It was invented. It was invented in the 1990s, Pete.
That can't be true. I don't know where you saw that. That can't be true. They were terrible.
A sports alert for it, and it's on our. I found. I'll give you some different stats.
I mean, like the year in 1969 when they picked Joe Green. The year before, they were terrible.
I don't recall that, Senator.
But I know it's the biggest. It's the biggest spread. Steelers since that Super Bowl when they played the Cowboys.
It's the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl era, I think.
Well, I don't. 69 is a Super Bowl. I mean,
but you're gonna have to give me some specifics on like what their spreads are.
I'm guessing, but they had some really bad teams. But this is certainly the biggest Steelers spread since Super Bowl when they lost to the Cowboys.
The Steelers are the only team since the 1970 AFL NFL merger. This is from a website called CBSSports.com. Never to be at least 14-point underdogs per ESPN. The last time the Steelers were this big of underdogs was in Super Bowl 30 when they were 13.5-point dogs.
13.5. Cowboys. Yeah.
But they've never been 14-point dogs. So history being made. Also, of note, the under 3-0 in all Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott / William & Mary / Ryan Wilson Bowl matchups. Steelers. By the way, Kenny Pickett 3 picks in the last game. PFF actually gave him 0 turnover-worthy throws.
Yeah, they were those. One went off Freiermuth's hands. One was at the end of the game, and the other one should have been picked. He played well, and I like him. By the way, I think he's got that it factor to him. People say, well, if he goes to Buffalo, throwing him to the Wolves. No, you're not. If he's fazed by no matter how he plays, if he's fazed by it, He drafted the wrong guy, and I don't think he's going to be fazed by it. I don't think he's going to win the game. 14 points is a large number. I will lay it because I think the Bills' offense will move the football, and I think their pass rush will get after him a bit. But I don't love the game, but I'll take Buffalo.
I can't see Pittsburgh's offense scoring much, even against a beat-up Buffalo defense, because they played well against two good offenses, and this Pittsburgh offense hasn't been good. I know they're going to a new quarterback, and maybe he's the spark they need, but I just don't trust them right now. Buffalo's offense wasn't as good versus Baltimore's the previous week, but I'm not really worried about them. I didn't want to play the 14. I would only look to the underdog in the sense, but I didn't want to play it because I could see Buffalo just scoring a bunch and covering a big number. I didn't want to play the under because I could see Buffalo scoring enough to ruin the under against this defense that hasn't played well. I just can't see Pittsburgh's offense covering their team total of 16.5. So if I was going to look at in this game, I would look to under 16.5 points for the Steelers, but that's just a lean.
That's a good look. I've got the under 46.5 as a best bet. I'm going to ride the Tomlin McDermott. I don't think Sean McDermott will run it up on Mike Tomlin. I do think the Bills will win. I think they'll cover. I think they'll win easily. They have allowed 7 points in the second half this season. 7. So if you are thinking about making a second half bet, or you can bet on the second half, click on half there, Billy, real quick, and just see if you can bet. I'm assuming you can bet on the second half now.
They typically put that out, I believe, at halftime.
Well, right, but I mean, sometimes you can bet on the second half before. Scroll down and just see if there's a second half line. Sometimes there's a second half line before the game. I agree with you. Usually it is typically the no, maybe not. Oh, there we go.
Oh. You get a money line.
Yeah, not going to lay minus 355 on the Bills second half. But you can, yeah. So anyway, look for the second half. They only allowed 7 points in the second half. Good adjustments. The Bills also have the most wins, 12 of them by 14 plus points since the start of 2021. The next closest is 7 wins by 14 plus points. I will take the under 46.5 here. Buffalo is a dominant team, and they're going to flex on the Steelers at home, but he won't run it up on his good buddy from William & Mary. Give me the under. Texans at the Jaguars. Jaguars -7. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 7-point favorites. Speaking of history, Pete, Jaguars -7. My.
They haven't beat the Texans since 2017. Is
that real? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, it's your stat, bro.
I think so. The last time they beat them, I lived there.
By the way, people are suggesting that you were putting up your milk money in the 1950s to bet on professional football. Is that true?
I wasn't even around in the 1950s. I was a gleam in my daddy's eye.
No, it's a dark gleam.
No, look, Jacksonville responded after that loss last week. I thought they played terrible football and still were in the game, which is amazing. If Trevor Lawrence hits the shot to Agnew and makes it 21-0 in the second quarter, I think that game's different. It wasn't. They lost, and Lawrence turned the ball over. He won't turn the ball over here. The only concern is the Texans running Pierce a bunch. That could be a problem. But I'm going to take Jacksonville on a teaser. I'm going to tease it down to -1.
Yeah, Lawrence had a terrible game against Philly, but not going to fumble 4 times very often. That's not predictive. So you can't count on that. And they played well otherwise. Houston's offense isn't actually terrible. Had 6.5 yards per play against the Chargers. They just need to start finding a way to have early success because they get down big in these games and then they pad their stats, but they haven't played very well. Houston's defense not doing anything well right now. I thought they were a decent defense coming in, but they don't look very good. So I think the Jacksonville offense carries the day here. I'd be okay playing the 7, but it does look like Jaguars are -7 plus 100. It looks like it wants to tip over to 6.5. And if it does tip over to 6.5, I'm going to play Jacksonville.
Where would you fall in Survivor this week, RJ? Is there's a lot of 7-point spreads. The Bills obviously are a pretty good look. This is where, if you're still alive, you have to be thinking Jaguars too, right?
Yeah, it really depends on what teams you have available. I actually put up a Survivor article on Sportsline and kind of laid out the top options and kind of said, if you plan to use them, here's the fallout for each, and the reason I'm not playing the Bills is because I want to save them for week 14 when they play the Jets. And there's only one other good matchup there, Cowboys at home against the Texans. And you figure, just use the Cowboys there. Well, I want to use the Cowboys in week 8 against the Bears at home, and there's like no other good matchup. So it's just kind of a thing where you have to plan out, especially if you're in the bigger survivor pools, plan out surviving the whole year. So that's why I didn't want to use the Bills here. I think Jacksonville's probably going to be my play. There's not going to be another time I want to use them for the rest of the year, really, except maybe at Houston. But obviously you'd prefer to use them here. The other one that was in play for me is Tampa Bay at 8.5. I think that line should be double digits. But the problem with Tampa Bay is that I want to use them next week when they're at Pittsburgh. And then there's not a lot of great options if you've already burned the Packers and the Rams like I have. Both those teams are at home and easier games next week, but I can't use them. So I got a plan to use Tampa.
Hey, Brinson, here's the official, ready? The official Texans-Jaguars rundown. They beat them 6 straight times from 14 to 17. The Texans did. They lost to them twice in 17, and then they've won 8 straight.
8 straight.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep.
What would you do if that's crazy? What would you do, RJ, if you had hypothetically you had a survivor pool where you had 8 teams remaining?
Then you don't have to plan to be, alive in week 14, week 16, because it's probably not going to happen. So I think you're okay then using the Bills there, and not having to save them that late. You just kind of want to make sure you're staying alive to week 10, 11, 12. You might have to scramble a bit toward the end of the year if 2 or 3 people do really well, but I think you're safer using the Bills in that sense.
Yeah, that's sort of where my head was at. Because if you're in a big, like if you're in the circus survivor, you have to be thinking more creative. Be a little more creative with your thinking. Maybe go Jaguars. I don't have a best bet in this game. I believe I took the Texans. Just seem like an obvious against spread pick here for me. I mean, it's 7 points. Like, I love the Jaguars. I'm driving the Jaguars bandwagon. I'm Mr. Jacksonville this year. Took Pete's job, but like 7 is just too much for a division rivalry game.
Plus the history. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if they finish off that game and don't fumble it away against the Eagles and they beat the Eagles on the road, what's the number then? 10?
9?
9.5?
10? Yeah.
12?
So, I mean,
that wouldn't be 12. It'd be 9, 9.5, 10.
It'd be 10.
So if you don't think that fumbling issue is predictive and you think that they could have won that game, you can kind of think of them as, why is this line not 9?
Well, it's not predictive because they're just not going to play in Hurricane Ian all the time.
It's funny. I do that radio show with Baselli. He's getting his ring this week. It's a big deal. Some of the tickets are $71. His Hall of Fame ring. But Monday night, some fan asked me, what would be a first question to Trevor Lawrence after the game when he fumbled 4 times? And I said I would have walked over to him and said, "Did you drop anything when you were getting dressed?" And Baselli said, "I would have asked it exactly like that."
That's great.
We got to loosen it up a little bit.
Oh, you got a little loose, huh? Go a little Red Bull?
Get loose.
RBV?
Get loose.
RBVs. Falcons at the Bucs. Bucs minus 8.5. Over under. Whoa, 9.5 now on Caesars, which I still would be fine with. Over under 48.5. Tom Brady is 10-0 all time against the Falcons. The only quarterbacks. Oh, Pete, do you know this? If you do know it, we'll just move on. If not, there are 4 quarterbacks who are without a loss all time versus single team, double digits without a loss all time, including the playoffs. Tom Brady against the Falcons is 1. Can you name any of the other 3? I'll give you a hint. One of them played so long ago that you were probably only 10 years old.
So how many games?
At least 10.
At least 10 games?
Yes.
Wow.
Tom Brady's 4th all time.
He's 4th all time, boy.
At 10-0.
I'd have to think about that. Read them off to me, though. I'll be curious.
I'll tell you. It's Otto Graham.
I wasn't 10, so you
You're
threw
12
me off with that one.
Otto Graham, 12-0 all time versus the Cardinals. Andrew Luck, 11-0 all time versus the Titans. And John Elway, 11-0 all time against the Patriots.
Wow. That's good.
Interesting list. Brady has an 8.5 yards per pass attempt. And in the regular season, not including the playoffs, if he were to have 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in this game, he would have 28 touchdowns and 3 interceptions all time against the Falcons, which would be a tough pill to swallow. I have the Buccaneers as a best bet at 8.5. Obviously, 8.5 better than 9.5, but I think they blow them out. I think we get angry Tom Brady in this game. What say you, Pete?
Yeah, I had him as part of my second part of my teaser at -2.5, and now it's at 3.5. It kind of changes it, but I'll keep it because I'm with you. I think this is a
You
bad
still get
spot
2.5 because that's what we put our. I mean, that's where we put our bets in.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I like Tampa Bay minus the 2.5. I'm with you. I think I don't like laying big numbers like that usually, but I think they're going to pound them here. This is a bad spot for the Falcons.
Yeah, I also have them as a second leg of my teaser at -2.5. If you want to tease the Packers like I did, and I would make the second leg of the teaser the Commanders now and tease them up to 8.5. If you can't put this Bucs in because you obviously don't want to tease and not get through the 3. Bucs coming off a tough loss at home, came against potentially the best team in the NFL. Now they're off of back-to-back losses at home, actually. And having healthy receivers is going to be huge for them. Atlanta caught a few early breaks against Cleveland we were talking about earlier, and the offense played well for them late to put that game away. But completing 7 passes won't cut it against Tom Brady when he has his full cadre of receivers here. And the elite Tampa Bay rush defense is going to make the pass game step up for Atlanta. And they lost their best running back, obviously, to the IR. Atlanta's defense allowed 400-plus yards to both Seattle and Cleveland. Not impressive at all. Thought that was actually the strength of the team, and it has not been. So I think, like you, that it's going to be a big blowout here for Tampa. I would tease it down to 2.5, like using them in Survivor if you want. Like I said, you don't have to worry about saving them for next week because you have the Rams or you have the Packers.
Are you opposed to doing a 7-point teaser?
I don't love 7-point teasers. I don't love the points there. I mean, unless you have another like 9.5 line, but I don't think there's one that you.
I was going to throw in Vikings, Packers, and Buccaneers.
What was that?
Not my house.
Sounds like my fire alarm's going off.
Mine went off today for a while.
You can. If you need to turn it off, you can. But yeah,
it's not. That's the building's fire alarm.
Right. It's -140 for a 7-point teaser, which is pretty juicy. But I agree, like that, the 8.5 to 9.5 is a pretty big deal for.
Well, we have it at 2.5, though.
Yeah, you're going to keep it at 2.5 because that's where you put it in. Okay. I'm just saying that, or making sure that people who are listening to the podcast or watching the podcast are not doing a teaser where it's the Buccaneers -3.5 to be just
right.
Clear. I think Angry Tom is coming.
I do too. I think angry defense is coming too.
The public stuff with the Giselle stuff is, the at home stuff is not our business, but he is a public figure and it's being made public, and I think Tom will be angry and he will come out and take it out on the Falcons. Lions at the Patriots. Patriots -3, over under 45.5. Maybe this may be the end of the Lions over run. I believe they're 4-0 to the over so far this season. I actually have the Patriots as a best bet -3. The Patriots are the second best team by DVOA in terms of running the football. The Lions are the worst team at football, or second worst team at football against stopping the run. I think Bill Belichick gets is a Matt Patricia revenge game too, Pete. If you're aware of that, he's gonna coach this offense harder against his old team.
I like the Patriots too this week. I just, this Lions defense is pathetic. I mean, it's on pace for the all-time worst ever in terms of points. They can't stop anybody. I know they're going to adjust a little bit. I think Aaron Glenn, I thought he was a really good coach, but he's got to learn how to stay out of the cover zero with those corners the way they are. They're getting torched. So I think this is a good spot for the Patriots. I'll take the Patriots minus the points.
I am lean Lions.
RJ has a fire alarm situation. He leans the Lions. That makes me feel not great. The line is -3, -120 now, so it looks like it's going to go maybe sliding towards the Patriots, but I don't know if we'll get 3.5. As I mentioned, the total has actually dropped from 47.5 down to 45.5. I think that indicates what kind of game they expect from Bill Belichick and the Patriots in this matchup, and it will be a little less high scoring, particularly since I believe Brian Hoyer's been ruled out, so it's either Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones. And Mac Jones being there would be a bit surprising. Chargers -3 at the Browns and over under 47.5, Pete.
Yeah, again, this is a team that's playing back-to-back road games. I usually don't like that outside the division. But, look, we thought the offensive line would be a disaster. That Salyer kid went in there and played really well for them. The rookie at left tackle held up. And I think they're going to be able to score. I think the Browns defense, I know they get guys back, but the Browns defense isn't good, particularly on the back end. They've been giving up a lot of big plays. I think it's a good spot for Herbert. I'll take the Chargers in this game minus the points.
Best bets on the Browns.
It's actually the line is slid to plus 2.5. I like the Browns as well. I almost made them a best bet. I'm taking the over as a best bet. I believe that these two teams combined for a game that featured the most points of any NFL game last year. It was like 57-52 or like 49-42 or whatever. It was a crap ton of points. Thank you, RJ. If you look at as you point out, Pete, the Browns are susceptible to big pass plays. That's what the Chargers do best. The Chargers are susceptible to big run plays. That's what the Browns do best. So I love some kind of combination, some DFS situation where you get Nick Chubb plus, Herbert, and then you add in Big Mike or, Gerald Everett, something like that. Maybe you can slide in some Amari Cooper. This game should be it'd be a sneaky shootout.
I was giving him, he just dropped off too, so we're just a complete mess, but I was giving him the thumbs up because the alarm finally went off. Yeah, so I'm going to back up my Browns +3, a best bet. Chargers defense 31st in rush yards per play. Cleveland's offense had 170 plus rush yards in all 4 games. We know they come in wanting to run the ball, and the Chargers just can't defend the run. Cleveland's defense allowed only 7 completions to Atlanta. So you want to run the ball on them. Chargers rush offense last in yards per play at 2.74. Even though they have a good running back, it seems like the offense running the ball is give it to Michelle and he'll fall into the middle of the pile. I feel much better about Cleveland if Garrett or Clowney are back. I know Garrett returned to practice on Wednesday. I believe he was limited, so that would be great. But I just love the matchup with that offense, the Cleveland rush offense against the Chargers defense. Cleveland's taken a lead into the 4th quarter in all 4 games. They just have to learn how to finish these games. Tough travel spot for Chargers, like you were saying, after at Houston last week. Look ahead was Chargers -1.5. I don't think we should move them up 1.5 points for beating Houston. I don't think we moved Cleveland down for that loss either because they played well in that game. Just, unfortunate circumstances with not converting the 4th down close to the goal line, fumbling in their own territory, things like that. So that's why I like Cleveland +3 as a best bet. At 2.5, I still like it. If you want to make that the other leg of the teaser, I think that's fine. I actually think Cleveland should probably be favored in this game. So let's move to the next one. Brinson, we just finished Browns. Now that you're back, if you want to set up the Bears at Vikings -7, total of 44.
Yeah. Bears at Vikings -7. Actually, you just set it up. Go ahead, Pete. Talk about the Bears and the Vikings.
No. Do I have to? No, I mean, look, the Vikings actually played pretty good football. I still worry about their defense a lot, but this offense is bad. The offensive line is awful. He takes too many shots. They don't have a lot of weapons. They can run the ball. And we saw the Vikings got run on a little bit last week. That gives me a little pause here. But I'm going to take Minnesota. I don't love the game, but I would take Minnesota minus the points.
I have Minnesota -7 as a best bet. Minnesota's quick UK trip. I was worried about that for the game in the UK, and then there's playing at a weird time for them. But I think it helps this week because the players' body clocks didn't get to adjust. It was just a little bit longer business trip than usual. They're back. Their routine isn't messed up that much. Chicago just can't protect Justin Fields. 23.9% sack rate. That's almost double the next worst team. So they barely throw the ball, and when they do, he gets sacked. So no wonder that he can't get any pass attempts because he's just getting sacked every play. Chicago's defense can't stop the run, and it's hard to mount a second half comeback if you can't get the ball. I mean, how are they not able to get in that game and win the game when the Giants don't have a quarterback and they just know it's going to be Saquon Barkley running the ball? You got to be able to stop him and then go and get the win. Minnesota also has a solid home field. So if Chicago is actually bad, this line should be like -10 to me. So that's why I think Minnesota -7 was a bad number. It's 7.5 -120 for the Minnesota now, which means it's probably going up. So I think you got to jump on it now because it's only going to go up from here.
Yeah, agreed. I have my first ever Pick Six podcast teaser. Minnesota, I teased them down to -1. I'll reveal in a minute the other pick. You can still obviously tease them to 1.5, and I think you'd be fine with that. You see it -7.5, -120. This line is going to keep moving. Justin Fields in his career, as a starter, 4.2 interception rate. That's the worst through 14 starts since Deshaun Kaiser in 2017. And Justin Fields as a starter, 13.4 sack rate, which is the worst through 14 starts since David Carr in 2002. So I'm not saying that's all on Justin Fields, but
right.
Man, sorry.
It tells you that they've given him no help. Because You get an intercepted because you don't have receivers you can throw to, and you're getting sacked because you don't have offensive linemen.
And he misses guys. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I think
Sure.
they're beating the daylights out of that kid.
Do you think that there's a chance? I threw this theory out before the season, or I didn't throw it out. I heard people mention it. Do you think there's a chance that this new regime is like, whatever, like we're going to put Fields up against, like just give Fields nothing. If he stinks, we're going to draft somebody else. Like, do you think they?
No.
So you think they like Fields?
Yeah.
Depends how they finish. I mean, what if they have the number 1 pick?
Exactly.
I mean,
which guy are you taking?
I don't know, but the regime has no loyalty to Fields. I mean, they didn't take him, so who cares? You know, if you want to go and get your guy and you're convinced whoever, Stroud or Young, whoever's going to be Levis.
I mean, okay, you could take whoever and put him in that offense right now. I don't care who it is. You can take Tua, Teddy, any of these
Tom
guys.
Brady or Aaron Rodgers. They're probably.
I mean, they're going to get obliterated.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
The Bears since 2021, 4-12 against the spread. As an underdog, that is the worst record in the NFL, besting the Commanders, Jets, and Panthers. They failed to cover their last 4 division games, an underdog in each of those. They've lost outright in every game, obviously, as well. They've gotten beaten. And I like the Vikings in the spot. I think pretty good look by RJ for the Vikings -7. And if you like the Vikings at all, you should jump on it now because as you can see clearly, it is moving in that direction. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, more best bets from week 5 next. Titans -2.5 at the Commanders, over under 42.5. Pete. Oh my gosh, down to 1.5.
I'm a glutton.
I wrote in my picks column. Why do I keep taking the stinking Danny Snyder's fabulous football team? Like, what is wrong?
I mean, I had them as a best bet a couple of weeks ago, and they were dreadful. And I'm going back to the well. Because I think this is just a good spot for them. And their season's on the line. Let's be real. The desperation play it worked last week with the Raiders. I worked a couple weeks ago with the Colts. It worked for the Titans when they played at home. I think this is a spot for them. Same situation. Have to have it. And the Titans are playing consecutive road games. And that can be tough on anybody. And they're coming off a big win on the road against a division rival. So I think they're not as sharp here. So I'm going to take the Commanders plus the points. And I think they win the game outright.
And I don't think Tennessee is a good enough team that you expect them to go and win back-to-back road games. And the look ahead was pick 'em. And so, like, are these two teams 2.5 points different than they were collectively last week? I don't think so. Washington's offense face-planted last 2 weeks, but they had 28 and 27 points in their first 2 games. They can score when they're not facing elite defenses. And Tennessee's defense is 30th in pass yards per play. Looked mediocre versus Matt Ryan for the majority of that game. I know they got it big. And then Ryan kind of turned it on late second quarter and then actually made a little bit of a game at the end. I think Tennessee's interior pass rush is a problem for Washington's offense, but Washington's edge rush could be a problem for Tennessee's offense too. I don't like their tackles. So I have Washington plus 2.5 as a best bet. I actually put that in on Sportsline this morning, and then it went to 1.5 right away. I don't think I move the lines. I'm not like that sharp. I'm not putting these major bets in, but maybe somebody's reading my picks, and they're the guys moving the line. So it was interesting to see that move. But yeah, I like the Commanders. I just think it's a much better spot for
RJ line mover.
The mover, the shaker. It is entirely possible that somebody who bets huge at like Caesars is reading or is getting alerts from RJ's picks. Sportsline.com/join. Use promo code WHITE. You'll get your first month for $1. You get all of RJ's picks and can get alerted when they go up. Plus, you get that great Survivor article he referenced earlier, along with tons of other content and picks from great handicappers, all the people that we employ at CBS or Sportsline or whatever we call it. Pete actually worked at CBS Sportsline.
The original was Sportsline.
You worked at Sportsline.com, like the old Sportsline.com? God, you're old.
2 years ago in November.
I know. 22?
Yeah.
And I'm making fun of it. It's going to be 13 for me coming up soon.
Pete's CBS career has been legally able to drink for the last year, which probably makes sense.
What is happening here?
Believe me, he does.
I like you refer to your career in the third person. This guy gets after it. I tell you what,
he does.
Seahawks at the Saints. Saints -5 over under 46. Pete.
Saints to me are one of the biggest disappointments so far this year. I thought they'd be really good, particularly on defense. They haven't been that. I think this is a game to show that. I know Seattle's played well passing the ball. Geno Smith's numbers are outrageous. But this is a spot where you have back-to-back road games again, and I think you're going. New Orleans' place is going to be jumping. They have to have this game, and I think that defense will get it for them. They get Kamara back. That's big. I think they'll find a way to cover the number. I'll take the Saints as one of my best bets.
Yeah, I want to love the Seahawks here, but a tough travel spot after at Detroit last week. So maybe the offense is a little, rusty and isn't at their top efficiency. And the New Orleans defense shows up. New Orleans defense is 20th in scoring despite good red zone numbers. And the thing that worries me about them is Seattle can hit big plays, so they don't even need to get in the red zone with some of these plays that they're doing somehow. New Orleans offense had 5.9 yards per play last week without their number one quarterback, number one running back, and number one receiver, which tells you, why is Andy Dalton not starting it when he's healthy over a hurt Jameis? Why are you throwing Jameis out there? But that offense can score. And Seattle, I think we need to treat them like the Lions. You need a reason not to take the over in their games. Their defense is 32nd in yards per play. They're 2 Denver goal line fumbles away from allowing 27 plus points in 4 straight games. So if Denver just plunges one more yard into the end zone in those games, Seattle's defense is completely, hopeless. Seattle's offense, 30 yards per play, top 5 in both rushing and passing. Geno, PFF's number 1 quarterback. We know how historically great his opening run has been, and it's probably not going to, it can't continue. No quarterback can do that. But interesting for Seattle that you played the little sounder last week when I said Seattle upgraded a quarterback, and when I was taking Seattle, and turns out I was right. So
I mean, Geno Smith's just been better than Russell Wilson this year. That's just
by
there's no
margin.
You can't argue it. He's been better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, eye test, stats, whatever, anything you want to do. That's why
I got best bet over 46 is the play. I was leading up to that, but best bet over 46.
Yeah, I like that over as well. I got the Seahawks plus 5.5 as the best bet. I think the Seahawks are live to win this division, by the way. I mean, the Rams. The Cardinals and Rams aren't very good.
Seattle's defense stinks.
Yeah, they need a defense.
They stink. That is for sure. I still think they'll keep it within 5 points. It'll be a close game. Probably be a shootout. I don't hate the over at all. Cowboys at Rams. Rams minus 5.5. Over under 42.5. I have the Cowboys as the best bet here. Probably I put him in, I took him out, put him back in. I just think the offensive line issues for the Rams are going to be a big problem with Dan Quinn, the way he's utilizing Micah Parsons and how aggressively Micah Parsons can get to Matthew Stafford. They're going to have to the Rams offense is not going to do much against the Cowboys defense. And so it's going to come down to what will the Rams defense do against Cooper Rush and crew. Obviously they should not play Dak Prescott in this game. I don't think they will. But I've got the Cowboys as the best bet. I was kind of on the fence about it a little bit, Pete.
I like the Rams. I know it's a big number. It looks way bloated, but this is a team coming off a bad loss. I know it's a short week, but Sean McVay's too good a coach. They'll get back going again. Here's the other thing. Cooper Rush, backup quarterbacks usually have 3 games. By the 4th game, you become who you are. And I think this might be the game where he starts becoming who he is. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Rams minus the points.
Yeah, and I think it might be a good spot here for Rams defense too, because like you're saying, and a little bit of pressure here because he knows that his ticking time clock, to be the starter here because they're not going to stick with him over Dak. So will that pressure catch up to him against what should be a good defense that hasn't been great? Look ahead was Rams minus 7. I typically fade a big line move like that, and we can see it looks like the pros are starting to do that because it was down to 4.5. Now it's back up to 5.5. But the Rams offense looks mediocre now. They're 31st in yards per play ahead of only Washington, and I don't want to trust that team against this Dallas defense. So I'm just a lean Dallas, but I don't love it either way.
Fine for me. Don't feel good about it. Bengals with the Ravens. Ravens minus 3 over under 48.5. This is Sunday Night Football. I'm just going to get to it, Pete. We were square losers on the Bills and the Ravens over last week. We knew it. We said it. We said this is such a square pick, and we don't care. Are we going to go back?
But you know what? If he scores the touchdown, do you think the Bills go get one and we get the over?
Yes.
Yeah. So
the weather was really bad. It was a lot.
And you weren't that far away from it.
Yeah.
You really weren't.
Okay. All right. So we're smart. So we're geniuses now.
So I'm going back to the chalk. I'm taking the over as the best bet here. I mean, Joe Burrow lights them up. They can't stop anybody. They're terrible on defense. I think, and Lamar Jackson will get his. We know he will. And so I'm just going to go back to the over. I'm taking the over in this game as one of my best bets.
Yeah, I think Baltimore's offense bounces back also. Cincy's D is solid, but they're not racking up sacks. Cincy's offense, 30th in yards per play, so not very good at hitting these explosive plays, which is weird considering their receivers. But they're second in time of possession and good on third downs. They're keeping drives alive. So it's kind of like the opposite of what I figured the Cincy offense would be. Baltimore's D, 28th in sack rate. If they're not getting pressure, then that helps out that Cincy line that's been the Achilles heel of that team so far. I feel like this could go either way. I think Cincy's stock is a little higher, and the look ahead was Baltimore 3.5. So I think for the true value of these teams, the lean is going to be to the Baltimore side.
Yeah, I like Baltimore a little bit, but again, Joe Burrow, first player with 2 400-yard passing games versus a single team in a season, all time last year, 941 passing yards against the Ravens, most by any quarterback versus any team in a season in NFL history, 18 30-yard touchdowns since the start of last year, the most in the NFL for the Bengals, 5 of those against the Ravens, and 16 30-yard touchdowns allowed since the start of last season by the Ravens, the most in the NFL. So it sets up for big play Joe and lots of points. Pete and I have the over 48.5, and it's come down a half point since last night, of course. Oh, well, I like the Ravens a little bit here. Raiders had the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Chiefs -7, over under 51. I mentioned earlier I had the Vikings in a teaser. The Chiefs are the other leg of that teaser. Vikings and Chiefs, both -1. Basically, just win to cash my first ever Pick Six podcast teaser. Pete, what say you on this game?
Yeah, I like the Chiefs. I know. Look, the Raiders were better last week, but the Chiefs look like they're getting into gear on offense. There's some history here that usually the Raiders won there. What was that? How many years ago was that? 3 years ago, I think they won there. But I'm still.
It's the only time they won. They honked the horn as they rode around the stadium.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Chiefs minus the points. That's a big number. So if I did use them in anything, like you said, I would probably have teased them down. But I'm going to take the Chiefs.
I have a best bet -7. I don't think the number's big enough. Chiefs might be the best team in the league over Buffalo right now, the way Buffalo's playing. Right now, I have both of them 8 points above average as co-best teams in the league. So if 8 points above average, and this is only 7, that means on a neutral field, Vegas has to be 1 point better than average. I don't think Vegas is an above average team, despite them getting their first win. So now you put it in Arrowhead, and then now the line should be 9.5, 10. You know what I mean? I don't think the Raiders can stop the Chiefs offense at all. I think if Perriman's not back from concussion, Chiefs offense could score 40, and the Chiefs defense is good enough to limit the Raiders. They're giving up a lot of points, but they're 8th in yards per play. I think the scoring is going to come down for them. So Chiefs -7. By the time we get to Monday, I can't see it staying on 7, so I'd play it.
Yep, take the Chiefs now. Going to move up. I don't mind the Chiefs as the best bet at all. Like I said, I have them in a teaser, but if I didn't, I would think about KC -7. Eagles -5 at the Cardinals, over under 49. Pete.
I like the Eagles. I don't love them. I think this is a tough spot for a team, particularly with Dallas on tap next week. They might be looking ahead a little bit, but I think they'll find a way to win the game. I think Arizona is bad. I know they played better last week, but Baker Mayfield helped that cause. I'll take Philly.
Yeah, I like Philly too. It's a good game for Arizona's defense last week, or is it more just playing Baker and company? So I don't trust that Arizona defense at all because I think any defense is going to play well against that offense. They're still 27th in yards per play. Philly's number 1 in pass yards per play. They should throw all over Arizona. So maybe the only concern here is Philly's offensive line injuries. Maybe that matters, but this isn't a matchup because Arizona's defense is 32nd in sack rate. So I think they could still have success no matter who's on that line. So I think Philly. That's just a tough spot for them. We know they've been one of the best teams in the league with their record. Now they got to go out west. It just seems like too easy to take them. They figure they're going to have some struggles at some point. But, all things considered, I would lean to Philly.
Yeah, I would lean Philly here as well. It's like you just see the way they flex on teams, even on the road as favorites, and it's hard to go against the Eagles in this spot. Don't have a best bet. The 49ers -6.5 at the Panthers, over under 39. Disgusting. The Panthers are the most unwatchable team in professional football. And they're getting a D'Amico Ryans, who, by the way, Pete, should probably be a head coach.
It will be
after the season. The 49ers are allowing 3.8 yards per play this season. Is the fewest yards per play allowed by any team through 4 games since 2008. If you look at it, it's like the 2001 Ravens, 2008 Ravens, 2006 Ravens. By the way, go Baltimore, get one. 2008 Steelers and 22 49ers are the teams on this list, and the Panthers offense is disastrous. It's hard. It would be really hard to back the Panthers here, I think.
Yeah, it would be hard to back the Panthers. The only thing is playing on a short week, coming off a big win, now you got to travel across the country, but I don't care. I think that defensive line will just dominate, and I will lay the points. It's not a best bet or anything, but I would lay the points.
The spot screams take Carolina here at home, +6.5. Team coming east off that Monday. Everything says take Carolina. Just cannot do it. No confidence in the Carolina offense versus this defense that's been so good. I think the line's probably fair. Just if this was on without those extenuating circumstances, if you just put these two teams in a matchup in Carolina's home, I think the line's fair. Throw them in. I probably lean Carolina, but I just cannot play them.
Yeah, you can't play the Panthers. Panthers are unwatchable and just a terrible football team, particularly on offense. All right, that will do it for us. That is all the games that we have covered. RJ, you have a couple of look-ahead bets for next week. Or one.
Yeah,
sorry.
Just one. It's Chiefs as a pick'em against the Bills. I just said that I have them even in my power ratings. I guess that's not the perception that they're even, because at home the Chiefs should be favored if they were even. So that's why I like them there. The thing about it though is the Chiefs do play on Monday, so the Bills are probably going to go out and roast the Steelers, and maybe the Bills end up favored. So maybe you don't play it right now at the pick'em. It just seems like this line, if the Chiefs go out and take care of business on Monday, is going to end up closing with the Chiefs being favored.
I would agree with that. All right. Do you, Pete, can you quickly read off your best bets, or do I need to scroll through and read it and snare them? Because I don't have them.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
I'll get them really quickly. Pete's Jets +3. Pete has a teaser with the Jaguars -1 and the Bucs -2.5. He has the Commanders +2.5, the Saints -5, the Ravens over 48.5. RJ's best bets are a teaser with Green Bay -2 and Tampa Bay -2.5. He has the so that's the teaser. He has the Browns +3, the Vikings -7, the Commanders +2.5, the over 46 in the Saints Seahawks game, and KC -7. My best bets are Browns over 47.5, Bucks -8.5, Steelers under 46.5, Patriots -3, Seahawks +5.5, Ravens over 48.5. Boy, I have a lot. Cowboys +5.5 and a teaser with the Vikings -1 and the Chiefs.
Wow, he's going for it this week, isn't he?
Really sounds desperate. I didn't realize I was over 4-1 when I put together this desperation platter that I've managed to assemble. But here we are.
What can go wrong?
What could go wrong? That's right. All right, that'll do it for the Best Bet Show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Pete, for RJ, I'm Brinson. We will see you guys later.